The deal is this. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. But I'm pissed. But I'm pissed. Come on. What are we here? Come on. What are we here? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magician.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are covering Grant Morrison's new X-Men. We're currently in the Assault on Weapon Plus arc. Wolverine has recruited a very drunken Scott Summers to join him and Phantom X to assault Weapon Plus. They're going to help Phantom X kind of break open this place for revenge, maybe? We don't really know Phantom X's motives yet. And Wolverine is excited to finally figure out what's in the Weapon X files and learn a bit about himself. Scott is too drunk to know that he's on the mission yet.
Yeah, he's just coming along because he lost a drinking contest.
Yes.
As happens.
Like you do.
How about this cover?
Oh, I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, this is great Phantom X art. Super cool. You know, the covers on this arc are generally good. Like they're very like monochrome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the last one was like Wolverine, like black and gray, basically.
Mm-hmm.
This one is like white and gray. It's kind of Phantom X appearing out of the smoke with his twin Fallout guns.
Yes.
It's really cool looking.
Really good looking. And we start out with a panel of like some weird robotic sentinel looking creatures it's floating around this weird boot with some spikes on it, and a blue and white colored text box that tells us this is nobody we've really met before, saying all of this is mine. Yes. And then we get a full spread of the world, and this is the world Phantom X is described as this experimental, time-controlled artificial evolution thing where the Weapon X program, or the Weapon program, has been designing things to kill mutants. So it's a small world where they can accelerate time by millions of years at a blink of a second, so that they can test these things out. And this thing that is talking is saying, and again, the great bells of the euthanasium welcoming the weak and the strange and the misspread of the worlds to their joyful reward. But what if, says the terrible voice inside, what if there is no joyful reward in the fire? I think this is a really difficult issue to understand if you don't read it several times. I don't know if you get that vibe too, because like the euthanasium is kind of a weird word, and like I almost read that as enthusiasm the first time. Like my eyes just kind of skimmed over it. Yeah.
I mean, I understand what's going on, but it takes some time.
Exactly.
And this is not all entirely like, you know, a lot of the blame for this is in the art when it comes to the action. Some of it is the blame of Grant Morrison telling us about the world, then waiting, 10 issues to actually show it to us, and then immediately dumping us in. You know, some of the fault of this is in the writing, not just the art. Like the idea here that there is the world, it is this kind of future location, and there's this character, who is questioning this, basically their religion. As we cut, it's not just yet, but eventually we're going to talk to the technicians. We're going to learn what the euthanasium is.
Yes.
It is this idea, this like religion that they have where people can kill themselves, euthanasia, and they think they're going to a heaven, but there's no heaven. The whole thing's just a science experiment. And the scary part of this, quote unquote, the part that we're supposed to take from this is one of these experiments has become self-aware and has been questioning it. He's very dangerous. This we don't spend a lot of time with, though. It's not like told in a linear way.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of frustrating, because I would like to spend a little bit more time on that and some clarification, but we cut over to these two jabronis who are like, I really don't like these jabronis in this in this comic.
Before we go to the jabronis, I want to talk about like the art in the splash page, because it took me at first. It's one of these like, oh, here's a weird place with a bunch of weird things, and we're just going to draw weird stuff. Like, it took me a long time to realize that people are lining up, and in this case, like holding hands to what it looks like Havoc for some reason, but it's not Havoc. But holding hands to walk into this place together. Like, people are literally filing in to be killed. Like, this is their religion. And the main character of all of this that we're going to find out, Weapon 15, is in this shot. He's at the top, kind of looking down and questioning all of this. And this is the reason, I think I mentioned it in the last episode, that when I was reading this today, I went ahead and, even though we're not talking about the 3rd and 4th issue today, like I went ahead and read them, because like there's so much, it's so dense with visual material. Like, I wanted to be able to talk about all of these things. So yeah, I just wanted to point out, like, we're seeing Weapon 15 in the almost the first page of this issue, even though it's not going to be a thing that we even know exists for several pages. So
yeah. And again, that it's hard to know, part of that is the art because of how it's not centered. And part of it is the writing of not introducing it correctly. Like, this is offboarding week. Like, this is not, beginner's week. Yes. On the X-Men comics. Jabronis are 2 investigative journalists, one of which is clearly a mutant because he's got a real case of fucked up face and milk drink.
Yeah.
Like, he's drinking a full milk.
Yep.
It's fucking weird.
Why would you do that? You're in public.
Yeah.
Milk consumption should be private. Didn't you go to school? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. No. You gotta work on your night milk. Like, you don't drink milk in broad daylight.
The hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
They are on the outskirts of the world. And this mutant has brought Lou, the human, here specifically to film this stuff and to so they can, make a story about it. And Lou is asking, like, how do they hide this a huge dome? Like, I can't even believe nobody's seen this before. And they're like, they don't have to hide it. Like, nobody wants to know, and nobody would believe it or care even if you did. Like, we have to show it to them in their face. Like, they're too much concerned about who's doing who on Big Brother to really care about this. So we're going to change that. And in the background, we see these little birds with red eyes. And that's the security system for the world. That's the camera system. These birds are going to fly around and film. So they are already, the world has already noticed that they are here.
Yep. And to kind of give us some of this exposition that is sorely needed, they kind of frame it through a couple of the scientists here, one of them onboarding another one.
Mm-hmm.
Here, basically explaining stuff. The euthanasium is set up to fine tune the population levels. Like, we get to splice genetic material into Sentinel technology, then sculpt the resultant strains through the speed of real-time scenarios and artificial evolution technology. Gamma bombardments hit the city at regular intervals to cause mutations. And then we make sure that they don't get out of hand because of this religion we've created. It's all very neat and clean.
And he refers to these people as the herd. Like, they're doing culls, and this is their herd. So they are dehumanizing these things that they have even dehumanized already. Like, they're splicing all of this material together. They're performing all these weird experiments to it, and then they're just referring to them as animals. So, like, both literally and figuratively call it, like, dehumanizing and taking away their agency, which is super disgusting and gross.
Yeah, it's horrible. This is some dark science. On the security cameras, they see those journalists. They also see some AIM troopers coming in, which is not commented upon. They just say, like, oh, the security in the world is very efficient. But you think that they're talking about these jabronis, but they're talking about the AIM troopers. It's real weird. And then this is really unclear. They're referring to the 2 people they freeze time so then go to lunch, which I love. Mm-hmm. Like, that's very scary and weird. They're like, what about the 2 people who are in the euthanasium? And it's like, well, we froze the world just as they're being microwave disintegrated. They'll burn in eternity together, at least until we press restart after lunchtime. The 2 characters who are holding hands.
Yeah.
We see their skeleton hands close to each other to try to hint that those characters, but it's very hard to tell what's going on because they just showed the AIM people and they just said the security in the world is very top notch. So you don't know if the AIM people are being disintegrated here.
Mm-hmm.
It's unclear. It's bad art.
But it is the 2 people
storytelling and art
from the world that are literally having to live this moment in time over and over and over again, which is fucking terrifying. Like, Jesus Christ.
Very horrendous. These people got to go.
We then move outside this compound, which, and this is like super unclear as well. Like, the way that these 2 jabronis are kind of hanging on this balcony. Like, how the fuck did they climb up here? Like, one is on the other's shoulders.
So the way they climb is the mutant one has webbed fingers. He's like a frog man. They don't really show it like, very clearly.
Yeah,
but that's
okay.
what's happening.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's not your fault. I mean, they should have fucking shown it. Like,
yeah.
I
guess they do. It's in one panel. I just didn't pick up. I
Yeah.
didn't think about. Yeah. Okay. So, Jesus. And the outside of this thing looks like kind of like a weird structure. So there's this huge circular balcony where two security people are talking. And like it's this weird. I guess these are security people, but this is supposed to be the professor and the scientist that he's onboarding. They just look like cops with the blue coloring. Okay. Jesus, this is fucking difficult to get through. Yeah.
So the person that they hired, so again, this is incredibly unclear. Like you have to read it a billion times. The person they hired who is talking to the professor is actually from AIM. He says, you made a pact with AIM. We're here to collect. Your security is not that good. So this was AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, had put in this sleeper cell guy to get hired at the World to let everyone in and kill the professor. Again, the art does not clearly show this.
Yeah, no, not at all. And if you don't know AIM, by the way, AIM is like bad SHIELD from the Avengers movies, even though SHIELD turned out to be bad SHIELD. So.
Bad SHIELD? It's worse SHIELD?
It's worst SHIELD. I mean, I guess AIM's not Nazis. I don't know that I don't think they went full Nazi, but they've definitely done weird experiments. So they are super bad. Most of the bad technology in the Marvel universe seems to come with AIM, come from AIM, and they like to do weird super villain kind of bullshit. So.
Yeah, they invent MODOKs. They create various MODOKs and
they invent MODOKs. And stuff. Yeah. MODOK, that was us, says the AIM salesman.
I used to carpool with that guy.
Yeah, love that guy. Great MODOK.
Good MODOK. Drop it. The two jabronis are watching this. They're scaling the wall, looking at this, and they're really like, oh, these guys with bucket helmets have shown up with guns. As he's trying to film this, we cut over to those bucket helmet guys, which are the AIM people. They're radioing back in saying they're here. They're trying to find a live test subject.
Gary, can you explain what is happening at the bottom?
Yes.
This is so confusing to me.
It's horrendous. I can explain it only through context clues. The people who are the AIM agents who have called into Central Base or whatever are getting attacked by something. They like, can there be a live test subject? It's climbing up through them and taking them out. They don't want to show it yet for some reason. Mm-hmm. So they show it as like the security cam footage and don't tell you or show you what it is.
Yeah. So we're seeing this from the angle of the video camera guy. Like he's recording everything while these people are getting attacked. And then like it just cuts off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're just supposed to know something's wrong. And then that's it.
Yeah. And then we go outside to meet up with Scott, Cyclops, and Phantom X. And Phantom X is basically filling them on what the world is. And he describes it as a square mile of experimental micro-reality with its own culture, its own religion, its own history, a giant petri dish where the lives of unsuspected human beings are used up in days, even moments. It's a torture chamber, and they call it the world.
Yep. No good. These people got to go.
Yeah.
So, he said I was born here. Stay here until I need you, EVA. EVA talks back. And I didn't realize EVA could talk. But EVA like, be careful, Phantom X. Hang over, Mr. Summers.
I like this because, like, the last time we saw Eva, like, she was he flying her in the last time we saw her? Like, for some reason, I thought it was, okay, so she's just gotten more and more advanced at this point.
Yep. No longer just a car. Now as a friend. And Cyclops just talks back to Eva like it's nothing. Like, no hangover. I just feel stupid. I've been pressured into this.
Yeah.
Wolverine isn't hearing it. Stick to the deal. They see the fence that the jabronis had gone through and the AIM agents had gone through is already open. Like, who did this? Phantom X, was it you? They walk in and they kind of see the rubble and destruction here. And they say there are tons of dead AIM goons. We don't really see any.
Yeah, it's really hard to see that. Like, there's only two on this big panel in the middle of the page. And Wolverine is doing his like sniff detection work, right? Trying to figure all this stuff out. And he sees that like their rib cages have been exploded from the inside. And he's asking Phantom X, like, what happened? And Phantom X says Weapon 15 did. And then they see some movement from the corner and they go track the guy down. And like, Phantom X runs off and Cyclops is like, you should stop him from killing that dude. Phantom X is like, Wolverine's like, I should stop him? Why? I don't care.
he goes over there, he kicks the guy, and we find out who this is. He's not from AIM. He's a civilian here, and this is our photographer, but he's gotten so scared his hair has turned white.
Yes.
And this art style is not consistent enough for us to recognize that it's the same person.
Yeah, the only thing we have to work on are his like orange lensed glasses, and frankly, like all of the AIM people also were dressed in kind of weird orange colors, and like it was just really confusing. But they pick up his camera, which is the other thing that really clues us in, and we see like the thing that he was filming before he ran away, and as they are watching this and they see all of the AIM crew get destroyed, and they're trying to use their rail guns and it's not working, and they say something is opening its eyes, and then the camera just explodes.
Yeah. Yep. Explodes not because of what's happening on the camera, which is kind of implied. It's because they're being shot. Yes. Again, just kind of an art failure here. Wolverine tells everyone to get down. Cyclops says, Logan, it's an ambush. Wolverine says, tell it to that dead guy and his girlfriend in Baltimore. He had mentioned he had a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. We don't see him get killed or anything, though.
No.
Again, it's not very clear.
It's off panel.
And he says, like, Cyclops, use your eye beams. He's like, I can't make it happen. He's having some, optic dysfunction.
Sure.
As a result of his depression and hangover.
He's at that age, right? Like
it's happened to a lot of people. Yeah. It's pretty common. Honestly, it's really common.
If you watch Fox News, you'll get a lot of ads about how you can fix that. So just go ahead and check out Fox News for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Take some pills. Go to the convenience store and buy that like bag of miscellaneous pills you can buy for your boner.
Yeah, Scott can't use his eye beams. So which is weird, and this is going to be like a weird undercurrent plot to this whole thing. Like it's and I kind of don't like it because the issue, or unless I'm missing something, they never really reveal why he can't. And I guess it could be just a mental block or something, but it's not clear, and it's just a weird thing to do. Like why just shoot your eye beams, Cyclops? What are you doing?
Yeah. I don't really understand it either. It doesn't seem to pay off very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Phantom X is not. He's like, this is not satisfactory. I didn't bring you here to impress us with your chiseled feature and perfect physique. Shoot lasers, and Cyclops is still in a pity party. Like, I'm sorry, the stress and the drama, living up to people's expectations. Like, he's still in a fugue state, and I don't want to do this mission. And Wolverine's like, how many times do I have to tell you this isn't an X-Men mission? Where Wolverine's on a stress relieving exercise. Let's terrify these losers into submission and go on. Phantom X says, Wolverine, be careful, they have rail guns. And I like this line. Wolverine's like, what's a rail gun and why do I care? And just runs forward and kills this AIM agent.
Yeah. And
railgun.
I actually like the splash screen that we get, splash page that we get with both Wolverine and the AIM guy shouting "ah" at the same time.
Yeah. That's like the AIM guy wears a little watch.
Yeah. Well, he's got to know the humidity, right? When he's taking over weird extra dimensional.
Exactly. The barometer of science.
Exactly. Yeah. So he does get hit with the railgun. Wolverine does get hit with the railgun and he gets thrown back. And Scott says, I was just about to say it's a high voltage electromagnetic weapon that fires hypersonic projectiles. Because now Wolverine is out of this fight for a little while.
For a little bit.
And the AIM guys are like, the X-Men are here. Hurry up. We got to get out of here. And Phantom X is like, the X-Men? You should be so lucky. And murders both of them. Yep.
And he, the last one who's alive, he's talking to him. He's like, I come in peace. Did I say peace? It might have been the wrong word. This AIM agent's like, hey, the monster didn't notice me. It can stare so hard at you that you explode. The head was all just smoke and lights, everyone just boiled on the inside. He's talking about Weapon 15 being bad news. And Phantom X, I love, I like the dialogue here, even though this is not a very good issue of this comic. AIM helmet design classic. I could clean up on eBay, but I'm thinking right now, would bullet holes make it more or less collectible?
This is good. I like this, but also like a few minutes ago, Phantom X was asking Wolverine to explain who AIM was. And,
yeah.
And I know Phantom X's whole deal is that he lies and he bluffs and he has secrets within secrets and yada yada yada. But it's just a little like the joke is good. It's a solid goof. I get it. But like, did he know anything about AIM? And if not, like, why? I don't know. It's just weird. Yeah. Some of this stuff is really clunky in this issue, as we have mentioned a couple of times.
Agreed. So they talk about, kind of basically what AIM is doing here.
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about the specimen. The specimen that they had saw the inside. And when it came in, they all started yelling. It went back. This AIM agent's obviously very scared. Wolverine's back up. He says his heart stopped for 30 seconds. Getting shot by that.
The specimen saw the outside, which is important,
Yes.
like not the inside, because it's to them, and this gets explained way later, and I wish it was already explained now. The world has been telling them that there's only the world, that outside is just infinite rock all around them, that this is the only safe haven that they have, and now this experimental super soldier's Weapon 15 knows that that's a lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they've gone inside now. They just cut over to them moving inside.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit more, Phantom X basically kind of explains the mission like, hey, in theory, we can stop time here and freeze Weapon 15, like a mosquito and resin. Wolverine's like, why is this important? He says, well, you were Weapon 10. I was 13. Imagine 2 more generations of advanced, beings designed to exterminate mutants.
Yes.
Wolverine tries to let Cyclops off the hook, says like, this smells wrong. If you want out, you can leave. And he's like, well, you didn't bring me here for my chiseled features. Phantom X keeps, hiding his secrets, Logan. He goes, it's not Logan, it's James Logan. Weapon Plus Files gave his real name. This is Phantom X being a shit. Like he's Wolverine just said it smells wrong and he's maybe leaving. Phantom X is leaving him a breadcrumb to keep him on the hook.
Yes.
For staying.
And there's going to be, in the next issue, I believe, Scott's going to like really go after Phantom X about this, of like, you should just tell him. So Phantom X says, welcome to the world, as the doors to the world open, and he shouts, Weapon 15, where are you? And so like we have, this is a cool page, but like it just looks like random art. I guess there's just a bunch of like smoke around, and like there's weird destroyed buildings in the background as they're going into it. Like this feels like it should be when you open the doors to the kiln in Dark Souls 1, and instead it's like you open the doors to like a bad version of that, my version of the kiln, like what I would have made would have given me 3D modeling tools, right? It would have been terrible.
It's not great. And it is like just very confusing that we're a little bit like emotionally unmoored, like we have an emotional connection to Cyclops getting over this stuff. We have an emotional connection to Wolverine learning his history, but we don't really have an emotional connection to Phantom X, at this point. And, him being so close to our point of view character here, AIM being involved at all, which as far as I remember is kind of like unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think AIM was here
it's sloppy.
It's definitely sloppy. I feel like AIM was here to make this an event, to have Weapon 15 be loose, right? Like so by the time they got here, shit was already in motion. But it doesn't necessarily work, and it doesn't lead anywhere. Like all of the AIM dudes are just dead now. So, and we're never going to see any more AIM guys in the rest of the arc. And the thing is, you and I mentioned earlier that this felt like a different script that Grant Morrison had, or a different comic book that he wanted to write, and it does very much feel that way. And I like it. Like there's a core kernel here that I very much enjoy. It's just so not realized in this issue that it's really difficult to work through. And I'm not opposed to having to work through shit when I read it or consume it or whatever. But like I feel like a comic book is just it should be visually clear as to what's going on, and if it's not, there has to be like a reason for that. And that there is no reason for that, and it does not feel like it's particularly earned very well throughout this. Like the fact that I have read this 2 or 3 times, that I read it twice today, basically going over all the panels, and then still didn't notice that the dude had web fingers because it's only in one tiny panel, I think is an indictment on this issue. Which again,
it's a real problem.
Yeah, exactly. I really want to like it, but it's like it's holding me back.
The concepts at play are good. Grant Morrison has a problem with inconsistent art in most of what he does. Like The Invisibles is a wonderful comic, and the last arc has a bunch of Ashley Wood art that's basically unreadable. Mm-hmm. You cannot tell what is happening in any panel. I think that he gets paired with artists who he considers to be like kind of experimental and wild, and forgets the fundamentals. Yeah. And Grant Morrison is kind of both those things too. One of the things that we're picking up on in this series is that like Grant Morrison does have these big ideas, but he's also has this really solid grasp of the fundamentals that we appreciate. And him kind of deciding to be a little bit experimental at the same time he allows the artist or encourages the artist to do so ends up being a combination that just makes a really ungrounded arc. And it is a bummer.
It is,
because the concepts are good.
And this is, as an X-Men fan, Weapon X was a huge deal to me as a kid. Like trying to find out Wolverine's past was a huge deal. None of it lives up to 13-year-old Jeremy's imagination, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. But like, it's like the idea that we're being introduced to this in such a muddled fashion is so frustrating to me. And it seems like old hat now because we're like 19 years past it or however many years past this. But it's, at the time, it was when I read this, I was like, "Oh my god, we're gonna find out about Weapon X. Like, what else? Yeah. What else have we been missing? Like, what could be in there that is so important? How could this change Logan or Wolverine or James Logan? Who the fuck is that? Like, it was like that mystery was really central to Wolverine's character for such a long time, and to have it handled like this, I think it's just really frustrating. Like, it just feels like it's fumbled.
Yep. Yeah. So bummer. And it's going to be a bummer for a couple more issues. Then we're back in the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you like this show, please head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv for a bunch of cool bonus stuff, extra episodes, access to our Slack, where you can hang out with us and talk about X-Men and Marvel and anything, honestly. There's even channels for anime. I just don't go to them. Like if you want to talk about that, there's a place for it. And then ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts are very appreciated, or wherever ratings, reviews are found. And telling your friends, blogging about it, interneting about it, all that stuff is very useful.
Absolutely. And we appreciate each and every one of you that has done any one of those things. Thank you all for listening. We very much appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple of days with more of the Assault on Weapon Plus.